Hi everyone. In this example, I want to show you how you can find the last row in a data set. There are many use cases for this. When you're working with a large data, while you know that the data is starting on row number 3, how do you know that it is ending on row number 12? And if you want to build a formula, for example, if I want to write sum of C3, C12, while I know that we have C3 as the first value, how do we know that C12 has the last value in it? Especially for financial models, knowing this is very, very important. Now I'm going to show you how to find the last row using a number as the input. I'm going to show you how to work with it when you have a text as the input. And then finally, how to use Visual Basic to do the same thing. So we will simply say equal to match, and we're going to search for a really large number, something like 10 million. And we are confident that no number in column B is greater than 10 million. And the moment we search for this in column B, and I do a match type of less than, the result comes as 12. So what that shows you is that 12 is the row number, and that is the last row in this column. And as you can see, if I put more numbers here, that last row value keeps on changing accordingly. Now you must be wondering, how does this number help us? Because we still need to write the formula, isn't it? So what I want to do here is, first, the formula that we have written, I want to put this as a lambda. That means I will simply copy the entire thing and we will say lambda. And then we are going to put the column that we are selecting as my column. So that becomes the parameter. And after this, we can paste the complete formula. But rather than writing column B, we want to put the parameter like this. Now, how do we test whether it is working or not? Let me just give column B as a input for now, and you can see we get the same result. So I'm going to copy the entire formula, go to formulas and name manager, and we have a few things here. Let me delete that. So we will click on new, and I will say find last row and number. And in the refers to, we can simply paste it. So we have written equal to lambda. My column is the parameter, and then we are matching a very large number, my column, and 1. And now you can see when I write equal to find last row number, I can simply select the column and it tells me 12. Now, how do we build this into a formula? We can simply say sum, and we will want to write C3, C12, right? So we will say indirect, and then we have C concatenated with 3, then we have a colon, then we have another C, and then finally we have the lambda that we just wrote, which is find last row number for column B. Let us see if we are getting the result. So as you can see, it doesn't work because there might be a mistake I have done. Let me check that. So we have C3 and we have C that has to be in double quote. And as you can see, we are getting the result. If I show you the sum of these numbers, we are getting the result. But here's the best part. This is dynamic And to make it dynamic is why we did it in the first place. Now, if you notice, the moment I add more values, do you see how my formula is getting updated? So we have accomplished our goal. Yes, the formula might look a little complex, but then if you think about it, when you're creating a dynamic model, especially financial models, it doesn't matter what the length of the formula is. You care more about how dynamic it is. And this is perfectly dynamic because I know the column is C and the first value is in 3. And then we have another C. And then this is the part that we have made dynamic. Let us come to the second sheet. Now, this time the problem is that we do not have a column with a number in it. Like earlier, we had the serial number. This time we don't have the serial number. Now, one option would be to create a serial number manually. And you can simply do that by saying sequence. After writing a sequence, we can simply count all the values in column C -1. And that will give me the serial numbers like this. And when I add one more name, the number also changes. And we can use column B as our input. But then this is an extra step because you will have to add a new column with a serial number in it. It is not difficult, but then let's try to find a better way of doing this. So I'm going to show you this with a small data, and then I'll also tell you how to build it in a way that it works with the entire column. What we are trying to do here is to say equal to max. And we want to find the maximum when these values are not equal to blank. Now, try to understand what this means. When I'm selecting C3 colon C12 not equal to blank, that is, ignore the max for now, it gives me true everywhere because none of these values are blank. Now, what will happen if I say C15? Do you see there is a false that is coming here? And that is what we wanted. We wanted to know that there is a false that is coming here. Because the first false is telling me the first row that has a blank value in it. Of course, here we are assuming that all the customer names are there. There should not be any missing values in the customer name. But how does this help us? So we have written C3 colon C15. Let me also do this as the row number for the same thing, C3 colon C15. And that will give me the numbers here like this. And what we would like to do now is to simply multiply both these things. Let us first see the formula that we have written. So we have these two formulas, and when I multiply it, think about what will happen. So think about what will happen when we multiply both of these. So when I multiply true by the number 3, we're going to get a 3, right? And if I say false multiplied by 13, we're going to get a 0. And that is what we want. So when I multiply all of these by all of these, you will notice that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are coming because we are multiplying a true by the row number, but then we are getting a false multiplied by the number, so it's a 0. And I hope you can guess what we want to do. Now we simply want to say the max of these values like this, and it tells me 12. 12, as we all know, is the last row with a name in it. Now, even if I add one more, right, you will notice it changes to 13. Now, let us combine all these steps. We are going to say equal to, rather than selecting C3 to C12, I'm going to select the entire column C, and we will say not equal to blank multiplied by the row number for column C, and we will simply do a maximum here like this. And as you can see, it tells me the number 12. Let me take a screenshot. And this works beautifully. As we add more names here, do you see how the row number is changing automatically? Now, if you think about it, we could have done this with a number as well. So we don't really need find last row number, because this one is going to work with both. It's going to work with a number and a text value. But as an illustration, I wanted to show you that there are two completely different ways of doing this. So this was our lambda, find last row number. Here also, I will create another lambda. So I'll copy my formula and we will say lambda. And then the C has to become dynamic. So we will say my column. And then rather than writing CC, we will select my column. And here as well, we have my column. The input is column C, and we get 12. So we know it is working. Let's just copy the entire thing, go to name manager, and we already have one called find last row number. So I'll create one more called find last row text. And we will paste the lambda here, press OK. And we don't need all of this now. We can simply say equal to find last row text, select the column, and it tells me the last row that has a value in it, which is what we wanted to find. Let me also show you how to do it using Visual Basic. It's not difficult, and it is one of the most essential things that as a developer you need to know, because whenever you're writing VB8 code, you will need to know the last row or the last column that has a value in it. There are different ways of doing it depending on the exact requirement that you have, but I want to show you one of the simple ways of doing it. So I will go to developer and go to Visual Basic, and let us create a module. So insert module, and I will simply write a subroutine, and I will say find last row. Now, how do we find the last row? If you think about the process, what we are doing is we are going to the last row in column B, which is 1048576. Now, this is a constant. We know that it will always be 1048576. And assuming that we are on the final row of the second column, how do we go back up? We press Control up arrow. So that will take us to the last row. This is the process that we are trying to replicate in VBA as well. So what we will say here very simply is cells. Now, what is the row number? You can either put the number here 1048576 if you wanted to, or you can also make it rows.count. They are the same thing. Now, the next thing it is going to ask me is to select the column. Now, we know that the values are in column B, so I'm going to select B. And then finally, we want to press Control up arrow to go back from the last row to the 12th row. And to do that, we will simply write end excelup.row, which essentially means we are going to B 1048576, and from there we are pressing Control up. Let me also make a message box so that we know that the result is coming. So we'll say L row, and here we'll say L row is equal to this. Let me close the window. We will insert a shape, and on the shape we will assign a macro like this. And when we click, you notice it gives us the number 12. Before we had lambda and array formulas, we would end up doing this most of the time. Now that we have this ability natively in Excel, it has helped us quite a lot. But I think it is helpful to know the VBA alternative as well, because that will help you when you're writing VBA codes.